That's Mark. That's Mark that way. We're doing a new fantasy show this year. We're going to do it a bit differently to last year. There's just the two of us this time, and we thought we'd open up with, like I say, we're going to open up with a mock draft for best ball, and we're going to also talk a little bit about fantasy football and the different types of fantasy football that you might play. So I'm going to hand over to Mark. Mark, what got you into fantasy football?
Do you know what? I love fantasy football. I think it's just such a great addition to NFL. I mean, there's so many different formats of, fantasy football.
Yeah.
We're doing best ball today. For those of you that don't know, the difference between best ball is basically you have a draft. That's who you've got. There's no trades. There's no wire pickups. It's a really easy form of fantasy football because you don't have to keep a lineup or anything. It's just one of those where your top scorers each week make your lineup. So if you're new to fantasy football, maybe join a best ball league because it is very simple.
Yeah, so that is a good explanation of what best ball is. Like I said, you don't have to set your lineup; you just draft your players, and each week it will pick the best players from amongst them. We also have a dynasty league that we're in together. I imagine you're in some additional leagues beyond that as well. Tom from the other show is apparently in hundreds of leagues now, based on some messages I saw today. So there's a few of us that really enjoy fantasy. I'm the same as you. I really find it. I've always enjoyed on games like Madden, taking a rubbish team and rebuilding it as best as I can. And yeah, so especially the dynasty we're doing, that really appealed to me. I even liked the one we had. And I know IDP is a bit of an iffy one with some people. They don't really like individual defensive players, but I enjoyed IDP. It was a bit more fluctuated. It wasn't nearly as consistent, really. But no, I actually enjoyed it. Just enjoyed, say, best ball is great for the casual fantasy fan. That's part of the reason we're doing it, isn't it? Is because it appeals to people who maybe are apprehensive about setting a lineup, not sure who to put in each week, don't really fully understand matchups. Like, best ball is going to do all that for you. So yeah.
There is some strategy within best ball, but I'm not going to give them away now because I'm going to explain as I'm picking players why I'm picking them and what strategy I'm adopting. I mean, for me, I will say one thing: best ball's about stacking. I like to stack in best ball. So, and I'll explain what stacking is if I get the opportunity to stack in this. But also as well, best ball, you've got to remember that you don't have to pick maybe players who are consistent. What you're looking for is you're looking for those players who can have that 1 or 2 big weeks, especially at the end of your draft. You're gonna draft and you're gonna pick those players who are gonna make up your lineup, you think, every single week. But at the end, it's about throwing darts at players who you think, well, maybe this guy has the potential to go off 1 or 2 weeks in a row. You know what I mean? Or has he got the potential to take 100 yards and 2 touchdowns? Has this guy got the potential to throw 300 yards and 3 touchdowns? Has this running back got the potential to catch 10 balls and maybe score a touchdown and also rush for 100 yards? And you're only looking for them to do it once in some situations. And that's what you're looking for at the end of the draft. But I'm not going to give too much away, Bones.
I think what's interesting to note about best ball as well is there is no waivers. So some people you'll hear say, "Oh, the team I draft isn't the team I'm going to end the year with. This is just to get me through the first 7 games." But best ball's not like that. This is your team for the year. This is your whole season. So, yeah, I do think it's going to be interesting because I know from conversations we've had, the philosophy I've always drafted from and what you've always drafted from are different. Like I come from a load up on running backs early sort of point of view, whereas you prefer the wide receivers. I do like the conversations we get to have about it because there is a bit of a difference.
Yeah, I think for the sake of this, I'm going to draft as the board falls. And hey, look, I believe in my board. So like there'll always going to be some picks which are going to be I don't follow necessarily, like the ADP. Like I've got players that I like. I've got players who I really fancy this year, and some of it's about backing your own instinct, Bones. I'm going. I know this guy's ADP is 100, but I really want to take him. I'm picking number 80. So I'm going to take him here because I don't want to miss out on him because I like him so much. And we'll discuss some of that as we go along. I'm sure there'll be the opportunity for us to pick some of those players. And as I'm picking them, we can talk about that. And you can, if there is somebody who I've drafted a little bit early, feel free to ask us why I've done it,
I think that's the important thing to remember about ADP. It is just an average. It is just a consensus ranking. Like, it doesn't... Averages are averages for a reason. You can take someone higher, especially if it is, like you say, someone you really believe in and you think is going to break. It's what fantasy football's about.
Also, as well, Bones, I think we best explain to people here that with this best ball team, you don't pick a kicker, you don't pick a defender. Now, it's a super flex best ball, which means that you can have 2 quarterbacks in the lineup. So you're going to see quarterbacks come off the board quickly here because quarterbacks are generally the highest point scorer. But in any normal league, you can sit and you can wait forever on a quarterback and you can pick a quarterback with your last pick and you're going to get the 10th best quarterback in the NFL. You know what I mean? So you're still going to get a good quarterback. I mean, but in this one, because most people are going to be taking 2 or 3 quarterbacks, because 2 of them can go up in your lineup, and because they get that many points, if one gets injured, you want to have a spare one that can jump in. Quarterback's going to fly off quickly. You know what I mean? They're going to go. You'll probably see a quarterback. You'll probably see maybe 3 or 4 of them going in the first 5 picks. This isn't the tactic you want to use in normal PPR leagues, but in a best ball 2 quarterback flex league, you certainly want to grab one fast.
Oh yeah, definitely. That is something like that you do notice in the best ball is the difference in the demand of quarterbacks for sure. So it is going to be very interesting to see. I mean, I can bring it up the empty board and show people where we are. So I'm going to be picking right smack bang in the middle of the round, and Mark's going to be picking right at the end and get the double picks, just to show a bit of a different It does change depending on where you pick and what you're going to get left with. Sometimes some people don't like to be in the middle of the draft because you sometimes are left at the mercy of the 4-5 people before you on each way when it comes back and forth down the draft.
I mean, I'd rather be picking number 10 in this situation than number 1. I feel like number 10 on the turn's not a bad position to be in at all. Although some people, you got to remember, by the time you're 10, the best 9 players are going to have gone. But you've got that chance to double down on talent pool and you get 2 players who are maybe in the top 15, as opposed to if you pick a number 1, you're going to get 1 player who's in the top 15,
And if you pick a number 1, you are normally pretty much entirely bound by the ADP. I don't think I've ever seen a number 1 pick that wasn't the consensus number 1 pick that year. When it's Christian McCaffrey.
Let's get this one started because it's going to come through. So I'm predicting before this starts that players like Josh Allen, he's going to go. I think Taylor's going to go off the board. I think that we'll probably see Herbert, Mahomes come off the board. So I'm predicting that by the time you pick, you're going to be looking at that 4th slot quarterback.
Yeah.
I think 3 quarterbacks and Taylor's going to go off the board fast. But let's start and we'll see.
Okay, so here we go. Let's see what the robots do.
So quarterback, Taylor, Burrow went high. So
yeah, wow.
So, as I expected, you've got 3 quarterbacks off the board and you've got Taylor, the number 1, Jonathan Taylor, the number 1 running back. This isn't dynasty or anything like that.
No.
Burrows went higher than I expected, but he has got a high-powered offense. So, Bones, it's up to you. Where are you going?
Well, there's 2 obvious choices, but I know who I'm going to go with, and it's Lamar Jackson. I prefer Jackson to Mahomes. I had the choice of Jackson and Mahomes. I know Mahomes has had more success. I just really like Lamar Jackson.
So you went Lamar Jackson, and now it's up to me on the turn. And I'm just having a look at what players are there. Okay. Right, I'm going to go true to form. And seeing as everybody else has grabbed a quarterback, I'm guessing I can now wait on a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to take Justin Jefferson. I'm going to take Jamar Chase.
And I'm not particularly surprised by this news. Right. So what has fallen to me?
Do me a
Oh,
favour, Bones. At the end of this, do you want to just pause the draft for a period, and we'll just go over our first 2 selections and why
can
we took those 2 selections?
yeah. I, I'm also going to go pretty true to form and take Dalvin Cook. So it'll let me pause it when it comes back around to my pick. So I will pause it as soon as it does. There we go. So yeah, do you want? I mean, I'll let you go first with where you took your surprise 2 wide receivers.
Well, I took them both because one, they're in they're in a pass first offense. The new head coach has come into the Minnesota Vikings and he says he wants to open things up. I think Jamal Jefferson is the clear number 1 there, and we all know that the Bengals have got the Super Bowl, of course, last year. And Jamar Chase had one of them amazing seasons as a rookie. He's already a bona fide superstar. I just think that both these guys are going to be getting 1,000 yards this season. Both of them are going to be good for, I would probably see at least 8 touchdowns at least. I wouldn't be surprised if both of them ended up in double figures. They're for me, the best 2 young wide receivers in the game. I know it's not dynasty, but I'm expecting them both to be fit because they are young. They're not beaten down by Joe Jones at this stage of their career. And they're both valid number 1s in their team.
Yeah.
So that's why I went for them, Bones.
Yeah. I mean, it is a good reason. They are both the clear wide receiver 1 on their team. It's not even like there's someone. I mean, you could make the case for T. Higgins, couldn't you? But it's not. It is just not Jamar Chase. But I went with Lamar for the obvious reason that for most fantasy players, especially when it comes to quarterback, you go for a young dual threat, especially in best ball, because if he has one good week, it's just Lamar Jackson on a good week is a good week. And I know I could have taken Mahomes.
Are you not worried about Lamar Jackson's decline last year? Because he didn't get the points that he normally used to get last year. It seemed like they weren't rushing him as much in the red zone, so he wasn't getting as many touchdowns as normally last year.
At first I was when we first started doing best ball drafts, but I also think that Baltimore in general didn't do as well last year. So I almost think that they would be better to let Lamar run more in the red zone because they scored more when they let Lamar run in the red zone. So I'd like to think that he will come back into form a bit this year. And he's still Lamar Jackson. It's still all he needs is one good week to have smashed it for me, really. But
yeah,
I think his situation's just good. And I just didn't want to draft Patrick Mahomes. It's such a toss up between those 2 right now. I feel like in best ball, especially, there doesn't seem to be much of a gap. But we'll see. We'll see.
No worries. Okay, well, let's start up again. You're going to be picking again, so let's see which direction you go now. So you've got your quarterback and your running back. I've got 2 wide receivers.
Cook is obvious. He's a clear running back 1. It's the same reason you take your wide receivers. Like, he's definitely a running back 1. And then I've gone Lamb because I just want a 1-1-1. And right now that is a QB1, an RB1, and a wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
Happy.
I'm looking now, and I'm looking now at what's on the board, and I'm thinking I need to get a running back. And I'm thinking I need to get a running back quick. Well, first of all, I'm going to take Tyreek Hill first, and then I'm going to take Aaron Jones, because I still think whilst he's going to be in a timeshare, he is going to be used a lot as a receiver this year.
Yeah, and I mean, he's still got a couple good years on him, and like you say, he has always been a threat in the catching game, and now that Adams is gone, he's probably even going to soak up a few more targets you'd expect. Yeah, definitely. See now, this board has ended up a bit funny. It's not where I expected to be. I might take a real big punt, but it might be... No, it's too big a punt, maybe. No, let's go with this one. It's safer. AJ Brown out of Philadelphia. He's going to be... We talked about it, didn't we? He's going to be the target. He's going to be a big target for Hurts. Hurts asked for him to be there, requested that he came over to Philly for a reason. So
yeah.
And then on the way back round, now I'm going to go back and I'm going to take Cam Akers because albeit he was hurt last year, I think Akers is going to be on for a form year this year. I think he's going to be a great running back.
So the quarterback that I wanted, first of all, has just gone the pick before because I like to bracket. If I had Justin Jefferson, I would have liked to have had Kirk Cousins.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Chase, I don't have Joe Burrow. So now I'm in a bit of a spot because I can't bracket one of my top wide receivers with their quarterback. And I don't have any faith in Tua. So I'm not going to bracket Tyreek Hill with Tua.
I was going to ask about Tua and Tyreek. Are you not worried about Tyreek and Tua?
No, I was wanting Kirk Cousins, if truth be told, but he's just went the pick before his. So now I'm a little bit gutted and I'm a little bit, and I wasn't expecting that. I was thinking that maybe Kirk Cousins would have been available for us on the turn.
Mm-hmm.
However, I am going to go with one of my other favorite tactics, and I'm going to take Jalen Waddle, and I'll explain why. I've already got Tyreek Hill, and now I've got Jalen Waddle. So I'm thinking, if Miami are going to go off and have an offensive game, it's going to be one of those two that's going to have it, which means in best ball, I don't have to select between them each week. I can just let the computer take whichever one has a big game, and I'm guaranteed a lot of points. You know what I mean? So I'm going to go Jalen Waddle. And then I'm going to come back, and I am going to look at a quarterback. And you know what it is? Sod it, I am. I'm going to go for Tua. I'm going to put Tua in. So I've got Tua, and I've got his two wide receivers, which means if they have a big week, I'm having a big week.
Yeah. I get that. Yeah. I mean, you are having a big week if Miami goes off there with wide receiver 1, 2, and QB1. Like,
and I'm looking at that offensive coordinator that they brought in, and I'm thinking, we could see some big weeks from Miami. So I've just covered myself there. If Miami are a good high-powered offense, which I feel like they could be this year, with Tyreek Hill, with Jalen Waddle, with Mike Gesicki, with Wilson, who they got across from the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And
I'm really... Go on, sorry. Sorry.
And because I like the bracket, I'm taking Tua. But I need to start taking a quarterback because they're going to be flying off the board soon. So I need to start looking at quarterbacks.
I'm really annoyed at Team 6 because that was my next pick. I was hoping he was so close to falling back to me because I think ETN is a huge one this year. I think he's going to be gobbling up runs and pass snaps. I think that's a good enough reason to pick him, especially if I could have got him in the 6th round. Oh, that's value for ETN there this year for sure. So I have to think about what I do instead. And I think I'm gonna do something we've talked about, and I'm gonna take the potential upside quarterback now, and I'm gonna give Justin Fields a shot this year in best ball.
2 quarterbacks who can run.
Yep.
Fields might be running for his life, but he can run.
Well, that's it, isn't it? If he's running for his life, he's running somewhere at least. Background to me. Who we got? I'm gonna take my tight end now as well. This is ADP basically, but Dalton Schultz at this point I'm going to get before the last of there, and Hockenson went straight after. So that's like the top. I'd say that's the end of your top end tight ends at this point, isn't it? Like Hockenson is just borderline. Schultz is probably the last one.
Yeah, I'm looking at ADP and I'm actually thinking I'm taking the last of the top tight ends. I'm going to take Dallas Goedert. I feel like he really impressed when Zach Ertz moved on last year.
Okay.
And they got him on a new contract and whatnot. And the next player I'm going to take, if it lets us, because it might have crashed at this moment in time, because it has a habit of doing this.
It does have moments.
The next player that I'm going to take, if I can, is going to be... Let's see if it'll let us take it. I'm going to take Dylan. Will it let me take it? Yeah, it has.
Yeah. You've taken AJ Dillon. I know you like AJ Dillon for coming into Green Bay's offense a bit more this year.
Well, what it is basically as well is it's the same again when I've got Hill and Waddle. Like they're all going to be in a timeshare, Dillon and Jones. And I think that there's enough points there for both of them, to be honest with you. Like, you know what I mean?
Is your app working again now? I've just paused the draft quickly.
Crashed. It's completely crashed.
I've paused the draft so you can close and reopen it.
I'm back up. Yeah, it's back. It's back going again.
I'll press resume then.
So it's back with me and I'm on the clock again. So I've got 2 picks. Dallas Goedert didn't go in. So I'm going to take him there. So I've still got the 2 players I want, Dillon and Goedert.
Yeah.
I like how this draft's fallen for me so far. I've got to do some of my favourite strategies. I've been able to pair up a quarterback with a wide receiver. I've been able to double down on players at one team. So I'm quite pleased so far. You have totally neglected any of my strategies. You've just scattered players from all over the place.
I've been forced out of my usual habit because of how the board fell, though. I would have taken different running backs given a different situation, but it just didn't fall like that. So yeah, I have ended up doing an absolute scatter shot of picks, really. Because normally, like, I definitely think my first few picks are always running backs because some of those top running backs I do love. I think this is basically a toss-up between these 2 guys. It's either Cortland Sutton or Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I'm going to go with my hometown favourite of Amon-Ra St. Brown. Because
look at this run on wide receivers now. And we're already into the number 2 wide receivers. This is why I like to take wide receivers early, because I want those top ones, you know what I mean?
See, here's one I'm going to get later on that I think basically is basically a guaranteed wide receiver 1 that you can get at this point in the draft. Rashad Bateman, and he's bracketed up with his quarterback like you like. Yeah,
I like that move. Right,
I think that's value for Bateman in round 9. Round 9, getting Bateman.
Okay. I want championship football, which means I know this player's suspended for the first 6 games, but at the end of the season, he's going to be playing. So I'm going Hopkins, because I know he's going to be. I want to be in the championship at the end, and I think I've got enough talent to carry us through the first 6 weeks at wide receiver. We all know that Hopkins can go off. And he's going to go off in the back half of the season when the championship games are on. So I'm going to pop him in there now. And I'm also going to take Tony Pollard, who I think, again, there was another one who's going to start eating into Zeke's carries and he's going to be used in the receiving game.
Yep, absolutely agree. I think we've had this conversation. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Zeke is washed. He's over. There's no more Zeke. He'd be lucky to be a starter next year. I'm going to go with someone who, I think has really big upside in the scheme they're in. I think similarly to Pollard, like you said, and similarly to some of these other running backs that are going off the board now, he may be a number 2, but he's a really good number 2, and he is going to eat into the other guys. Carries a bit is Kareem Hunt.
Yeah. We know that Chubb's been banged up a few times already as well.
Yep. And again, in round 10, getting a running back like Kareem Hunt, when the guy before me took Cordarrelle Patterson, please, like that's value all day. But then on the swing back, it's an interesting point again. I want someone who's going to perform this year. I'm not taking a stab on that guy. And we're going to go with a rookie. My first rookie is going to be Chris Olave.
Okay. Right. Where am I looking? I'm going to go for Matt Ryan MVP. I need a second quarterback, and I think he's in the best situation he's been in a long time. He's got an offensive line that can protect him. He's got Pittman at wide receiver. Yeah, I'm going to go Matty Ice.
Matty Ice.
And then I am going to go with another running back. One who I think will play a role this season, at least in the receiving game. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's their lead running back by the end of the year, the rookie Cook.
Ah, that's a good shout. That is a good shout. What am I looking at now? I'm looking at depth really, and people who have a chat. This is the point in the draft where you are starting to look for those people who it's no longer, like you say, about consistency. Now it's about, can they have a game or 2 or 3 a year where they just explode and they just go off.
Yeah, this is what we're looking for now.
And someone who we know can do it, but tends to get bounced around a bit. I don't know. It depends. Like, we know this team aren't very nice to this position, but I'm going to take Ramandro Stevenson because last year when he had the good games, he went off. But you know what New England's like.
Yeah, he's going to get at least 40% of the running back touches.
You'd hope, unless he drops a ball and Bill decides to bench him for a month. And then who could go off here? So this is another one where I want championship football, and it might be a gamble. He might not do much this year, but I think he stands a chance of being Detroit's number 1 before the end of the year. If he's got that 4.2 speed still, I'm taking Williams now. Yeah, I think he'll come out in his first year and do well. I really do.
Okay, so I'm on the turn. I need a second tight end, Bones. Because if you've only got one and it's a bye week, you need to have a tight end. So you need to take 2. And I'm sorry, but I've got to take Noah Fant just because I feel I know he's not in the best situation, but regardless who's there, I think he's going to be a red zone threat at least. And I think he's still going to be a good player.
Wildcat QB.
And then the next position I am going to take. I really want to take somebody who, again, I feel has got upside. Somebody, again, I think could be a bit of a sleeper. And I'll tell you why, right? Last year, at the end of the season, he really came on really well. And I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for him to pass the ball because I think this team are going to be behind a lot. So I'm going to take Davis Mills as my 3rd quarterback. Yeah.
I like that. I like your reasoning as well. You know, he's going to come on again this year. You know, he's had time in the system. He's had time in the league, you know. God, this will be like the 4th draft I've done today where I've ended up with this guy as my second tight end. But Hunter Henry, here we go again. We know New England like 2 tight end sets. He's going to catch some passes throughout the years. JP Mills is getting some serious hype in Houston. That's good news as well. And clearly they're liking him over there. What do I need now? It's basically, I think it's 3rd QB time for me. I don't want any more of these to disappear before I have the chance to pick one. But who? Well, it's definitely not going to be Deshaun, is it? He's not. I'm going to take a chance on a guy having a better second year in Zach Wilson.
Okay.
I think he only needs to have, again, it's my 3rd QB in a best ball league. He only needs to have a couple games where he does particularly well and it'll be fine.
I'm rolling the dice again. I'm thinking, this is really where I'm taking a punt, Bones. You know what I mean? No, this is really where I'm taking a punt. And I'm thinking, who could have some breakout weeks? Who could have some breakout weeks? In a position on their roster where they can have maybe 1 or 2 big weeks. And I'm looking down this. And I'm thinking, it's a difficult one, this. It is a difficult one. I've only got 2 picks left. But I'm already thinking, who's got that home run hitting ability? Who can maybe only catch 1 or 2 balls in the game, but maybe take one of them to the house,
Yep.
And I'm thinking, this is so difficult.
JP, we're doing it wrong. It's meant to be a month between draft picks. Sorry.
I'm taking Williams out of Detroit.
Yep, guaranteed goal line touchdowns, easy, and that O-line this year. Oh.
And I've got 1 more pick. Now let me just have a look at my team and what have I got? Probably need another wide receiver. So I'm looking at wide receivers and I'm thinking I'm going to take a guy out of training camp. And I know this because I'm from the AFC West. I'm a Raiders fan. And I know that this guy and Russell Wilson have already been building up a bit of a rapport. And the news is that Russell Wilson really likes this guy. So I'm going to take Patrick from Denver.
I like it. I had him as last pick in our last one of these. So I'm also going to go for potential upside. I think this guy's young and he's going into a scheme that will potentially use him a lot. And go with Davis Price out of San Francisco.
Well, the way that San Francisco runs the ball, at some point he's going to get some carries, isn't he?
Yep.
So
the rate they churn through running backs as well, he's probably going to start a couple of games.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that is the whole 16 pick draft.
So I mean, we've both done very different things. You grabbed your quarterback early. I grabbed one very late. I grabbed one round 6. You grabbed one round 1.
Partly because of where I was picking, to be honest, because I'm so early on and those top 5, 6 quarterbacks are still on the board. You couldn't ignore it. What were I going to pick? Christian McCaffrey, who can't stay healthy. I mean, I could have gone Cup, I suppose, but no, those quarterbacks are still on the board. I felt I had to go for one of them.
Yeah, I mean, if this is how the board fell, I would have a little bit worry at quarterbacks. I'm thinking, do I have a quarterback who's going to get 20 points every single week? But I feel like Tua Tagovailoa's got a high floor this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Matty Ryan's got a high floor this year. But Mills is one of those where he really impressed at the back end of the season. I think he had 3 weeks where he was like in the quarterback top 5 in fantasy at the end of the year. And I'm thinking, I wonder if he can continue that form. So I've had a bit of a stab. It was either going to be Mills or Daniel Jones, in all honesty. I really think that Daniel Jones is in a really good situation there with Brian Daboll. And we all know how much he liked to run Josh Allen in the red zone. And Daniel Jones has got that dual threat. Maybe we'll see him run in a few touchdowns this year,
Yeah. Sorry, I just noticed JP's message on the YouTube version. The draft board has frozen on the second to last pick. So I'm just quickly attempting to fix that. Waiting for the YouTube to catch up with me.
Sleep has temperamental, isn't it?
It can be a bit, yeah. It's freezing up like mad.
Second to last pick was Mark Ingram, and the last pick was Darrell Williams, JP.
I've fixed it. There we go. Right, it should be right on the live one now. That was Sleeper having a moment there, or the restream, which one of them. So yeah, I mean, the board fell a bit differently to how I was expecting. Like at pick 5, I didn't think I'd end up with Cook as my first running back off the board, but I do like to take my running backs early, and Cook is one of those backs that's going to be getting in excess, like up to 19 points maybe a week easily in some cases. Like he's going to be he's a pass catching threat. He is a dual threat running back. He has potential to play in both sides. So
yeah. I think the highlight of my team is Jefferson and Chase.
Yeah, it's a really good duo.
So I mean, what do you want to do? Do you want to fire up another one, Bones? Do you want to do another? Do you want to do another mock? Maybe not best ball. Should we just do a standard PPR mock?
Can throw in a standard PPR one if you want. While we've got the time, that went quite quickly. Yeah, to be fair.
Yeah, let's do a standard PPR 1 quarterback league, which is what most people will do on the fantasy app, but we'll do it on Sleeper.
Do you want to set it up and invite me then, and I'll pull it up on the screen when it's there? Yeah,
I'll do one. I'll set it up now, Bones. So you just talk whilst I'm setting this up.
So you're saying like most people are going to be playing this format. It's not a year-to-year one like we play in Dynasty, is it? This is a 1 year, and you're done kind of league. You don't really have keepers with these.
Yeah, it's a standard. This is a standard.
And PPR is point per reception, just in case there's anyone who doesn't know that part of it out there. That does factor into how people score. You know, just catching a ball is a point. There's another format that is half PPR. That obviously, as the name implies, you only get half a point per reception rather than a full point.
So on this one, you've got to set your team every single week.
Yeah,
this is a lot different. You know, you're trying. This is where you have to set your team every week. Like I've saved that. I'm just going to invite you, Bones, and you can tell us when you've got it.
Yep.
I'll let you pick where you want to draft first, and then I'll pick second. Like where I want to draft, I'll pick.
Okay.
So I'll let you go first.
Like you say, Sleeper has its moments. I'm just give it a second to wake up. This is what most people will be playing on, though, as well, to be fair, I imagine, even.
PPR. Regular PPR league. Points per reception. I've set the board. Wow, you can see here that there's a lot of running backs at the start. Are you on yet?
I am there. Come on, phone. I am on the one that can see the board. Just need my phone to wake up. So yeah, you were saying this is the basic standard format, but you do actually have to set teams and stuff like this. Whereas, there we go. I'm in finally. Right.
You can do waiver wires on this. You can do trades on this. You can pick up players off the waiver wire that aren't drafted. You only have to have one quarterback. My strategy is wait for quarterbacks and gobble up all the other talent. I'm quite happy just to. Is there a way of randomizing where we're going to be picking?
I don't think there is in mock ones.
Yeah, there is.
On the bottom. Go on then.
So I've randomized us.
I see you. Where? Oh, do I need to randomize myself? 1 second.
Yeah, go to settings. So I'm in a terrible position, 6th.
Nice. You're right. Like right smack bang in the middle.
I hate being in the middle. I hate picking at 6th. No man's land.
Oh, brilliant. No. See, you say that, but then now I'm bound by consensus number on overall player. Like I'm just stuck. I can't.
Yeah, you're first.
I can't not pick who I'm going to have to pick now.
Right, and so I'm going to press start on the mock, Bones.
Yep.
If you want to make that screen, that's the size that would be. So you're first. Standard PPR league, 1 quarterback. You need to pick a defense. You need to pick a kick at some point. Standard flex. Let's start this mock. You're on the clock, Bones. So you're picking first. Who's the first player that you're taking? Who's the best fantasy this year for this kind of format?
Undeniably, it's going to be Jonathan Taylor at RB1. You just can't ignore RB1 in standard PPR. It just...
Yeah.
And you're bound by it, essentially. If you end up picking in your league first, you are almost guaranteed to be taking Jonathan Taylor this year. I'll be surprised if anyone does anything different than that.
Well, I'm going to take... Right. Henry's on the board. I'm worried that he's had an injury already. Cook's on the board. He missed games last year. Najee Harris is screaming out at me. He was used so much last year.
Yeah.
He was used in the receiving game. They've got Mitch Trubisky or they've got Kenny Pickett back there. And I think they're going to be a run-first team. So I'm taking Najee Harris above Henry and Coop because I'm concerned about running backs who have had injuries before.
I'd still have taken a healthy King Henry, but I can see why there's so little in between them. It is a flip of the coin at this point, which one you would take. I'm just a bit too sentimental.
I'm back on the board now, and I am going to take Adams from Las Vegas.
Run heavy, says JP. That's true. He does run, and he is heavy. He is a real heavy runner. And now
I've got my wide receiver 1 and I've got my running back 1. This is how I like to draft in PPR. I like to have that number 1 bona fide wide receiver, and I like to have that number 1 bona fide running back.
Whilst we're here at my second pick, I'm just going to pop this up so people can see quickly that now we're at a point where it's no longer consensus running backs that I've got. This is when Josh Allen could go. It thinks Alvin Kamara is valid here. But I'm going to be honest. I know who I'm going with, and it's probably a bit of a gamble, but I still think he's worth it for a year or two. I'm going to stack on a running back, and I'm going to take Aaron Jones, and then with the second half of my pick, I'm going to take a guy who is basically a running back in Deebo Samuel.
Okay. Do you think he'd be used that way again?
Yes. I think despite all the news, all the protests, I still think he will be. I just don't see why they would not. He's too productive. He's too productive to not use him like that. You'd be shooting yourself in the foot.
Well, it's way too early for me to take a quarterback, even though Mahomes is still on the board. I don't take quarterbacks in PPR very early. I think you can waiver wire and just change quarterback week to week off the waiver wire and go with who's got good matchups. But I am going to go for someone, and I do think that this is shallow. I do think that you have to get these guys quickly in this format.
Mm.
I am going to go for a tight end. I'm going to go for Kyle Pitts because I think even with Drake London there, with Calvin Ridley out, suspended for the season, Mariota has got to throw the ball to someone. So I'm going to bank he's going to be throwing it to Pitts. And then I'm back around again, and I'm going to go for the guy who I feel is quarterback proof. I'm going to go for Tabby Mclaren. And when I say quarterback proof, I think no matter who's at quarterback, he's going to get points.
Right. Let's see how the board has fallen. Yeah, I think that is a valid stance on him. He is quarterback proof so far. We've seen nothing to the contrary of that, and I'd like to see how he carries that on. He performed well with different quarterbacks last year.
He has all his career. Doesn't matter who's throwing him the ball, he's catching it.
So I now have the double pick again, and I'm going to go with. I'm going to take another running back. I'm going to take Travis Etienne because he's going to play both sides. He's going to be catching. He's going to be running. He's going to have that points value in the receiving game that PPR loves. And then I'm going to take that run of tight ends is going to finish before it comes back round to me. So I might have to go a little bit above ADP on who I want to take as my tight end, just on the basis that by the time this snake comes all the way back to me, there's not going to be any of them left. And I'm going to take Hawkinson.
Okay.
I think he's a big target for Goff. I think he's proven himself to be one of the better tight ends in the league. And yeah, I think he's going to be in for another big year.
Okay. And now I'm in a situation where I've only got one running back and I don't particularly like who's left. But I feel like there is some bell cows left, but there is question marks about them all. I think Gibson is a good player, but I do think that Josh Jacobs in his contract year will be worked a lot by the Raiders. So I'm going to put Josh Jacobs in there. We're basically just going to run him into the ground because we haven't got him next year. And it's back round to me. And I am starting to consider another wide receiver. Again, I think he's one of the few number ones that are left on there. Amari Cooper's at the top of ADP, but I don't know who's going to be throwing him the ball yet. But again, this guy's been proven to be quarterback proof, and he gets points every single year. So I'm going for Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, Amari Cooper, it looks like it could be Josh Rosen throwing the ball to him based on recent news, which...
Oh, Brissett.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, or Jacoby Brissett, yeah, as well. It's just not a good... It's not a good hand to have been dealt at all. Ooh... I'm also going to go slightly ahead of ADP and say this guy's going to have a big time in his new team and go with Juju Smith-Schuster as my next wide receiver. I think he's going to be a big target in that Kansas City offense. I think he's going to have a new...
Look, Burns, can we just pause it here?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at your team, and you obviously went running backs early. Whereas I made sure that I got a running back and a wide receiver. Now, if we look at you went running backs early, and you're looking now at your two wide receivers, and you've got Deebo Samuel, who I do think will have a good season. But now your number two wide receivers, Juju Smith-Schuster. You know, like, and so you're already throwing darts at wide receiver. This is why I like to go wide receivers early. See, I've got Adams, McLaurin, and Cooks, and all three of them are number one, bona fide, unquestionable wide receivers on their team, you know, and I've still been able to get Harris, and I've still been able to get Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, I mean, Harris is good. I'm not sure about Jacobs with those New England coaches there. I mean, I get it's his contract year, and they might run him into the ground, but I also think that it's a New England system. They're known to just not be ashamed to just switch a back out in a heartbeat for any perceived slight. You could drop a ball once and you're out. That's it. Like, I just worry. Whereas I know Jonathan Taylor had no choice about. Aaron Jones is going to be catching some of those missing passes that were going to Adams, and ETN's gonna be unreal. Like, he's gonna be catching passes, and that's what I've gone for, is people who can actually catch passes out of the backfield, because they're going to be scoring big points this year. Granted, I've had to skimp a little bit at wide receiver, but again, Deebo is going to be there. I mean, I could still go and take some of these other ones, but you are right. You are taking a few punts at this point.
Your clock's going down, Bones.
I know.
You haven't paused it.
You're the draft host, so you would have had to pause it. I just realised this. I'm going to go another one he plays fantastically at the end of last year. I think he's going to be maybe wide receiver 2 in Detroit. Like, okay, so he's going to play out.
Wide receivers. I now need a third running back. This guy.
The thing about wide receivers is there's just a million of them. I understand there's only so many wide receiver ones, but every team has so many that you can miss out on a couple of them and still do well.
Well, I'm going to go for somebody who, again, I feel he's the lead back in that team. He can catch the ball. He had a disappointing last year. I had him last year, and he was so hard to predict. But I'm still going to go with Miles Sanders.
Fair enough. It's interesting that, like you say, it was inconsistent for him last year. It will be hard to gauge. But Philadelphia do look like they've gotten to be a better team. So you'd hope that as everything around him gets better, that his situation would get better too.
See, and again, now I'm starting to think, what am I looking at? What am I looking at now? You know, like, I feel like I've got a good starting lineup. I'm looking at my team. You know, like in my flex position, I've got Cooks, I've got McLaurin, I've got Adams, I've got Jacobs, I've got Miles Sanders on the bench. I'm thinking, again, I want these players in case of injuries, and I want these players who are going to come good or who might be on a run if I'm in the championship final. Okay. So again, I'm taking Hopkins.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So I've kind of held off so far on taking any sort of quarterback because again, there's only 10 players. There's only 10 teams. There's only in this league, and there's only one quarterback on our team. So I think, Mark, you're doing the same in holding off on a quarterback right now. Is that basically?
Yeah, basically, yeah. I'm quite happy taking Derek Carr. I'm quite happy taking Kirk Cousins. And I'm quite happy getting talent whilst it's still there on the board. Look, even if I pick Derek Carr with my very last pick, is it going to be better to take Derek Carr with my last pick or Mecole Hardman?
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, fully understand that. I'm going to take a guy. No, maybe not. Yeah, go on. We had this conversation earlier. Despite his age, he's not got the same tread on his tires as a normal running back his age would have, and he has a pass catching threat in Cordarrelle Patterson. Kareem Hunt was already gone this time, so where the bot before took Patterson before Hunt, and I was like, that's a joke. Hunt is definitely better than that. I think Cordarrelle Patterson, he's a threat in both sides of the offense. He's not just a runner, and he's not as old as it seems because he's not taken the hits that most running backs his age have taken.
Yeah, so you've got 4 running backs now, and you've got 3 wide receivers.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to come back.
Whereas I've got 3 running backs, and I've got 4 wide receivers.
I'm gonna balance the books though with this next pick, and I'm going to go for a guy who hasn't shown it yet, but definitely still has the potential despite his size, of Devonta Smith.
Okay, it's coming around to me.
I think with some more targets, some more stuff in that Philadelphia offense this year, I think Smith's going to have more chance of getting open. He's going to have less attention on him, and he's going to do more. And that's not even to say he was particularly bad last year for a rookie. Like, rookies can struggle.
Well, I'm quite happy taking Rashard Penny here. I think he's top of the depth chart in Seattle. You know, Chris Carson's broke his neck
and retired. Yeah. At the moment, I'm not sure about Seattle running backs, I guess.
So now I'm looking at number 2 players. Well, I would be, but I feel like this guy is one of my sleepers. And I know that everybody says that Justin Fields has got nobody to throw to outside of Darnell Mooney. But I do think that this guy could have a breakout year this year, and I'm picking him way above ADP. But this is one of my sleepers. I'm going to take him now, so I've got a chance to talk about him. Cole Kmet.
Okay.
And I just feel that he was a second round draft pick. I feel like he's in a good situation where there is only Darnell Mooney in that receiving core. Justin Fields is going to be running for his life a lot of the time. He's going to be looking for a safety blanket. And what better safety blanket than a tight end, you know?
For a very similar reason, I'm going to go, I get probably a little bit ahead of ADP, and I'm going to take Freiermuth. Because
I like to have 2 tight ends. They're hard to find on the waiver wire, tight ends.
Yep.
I do like to have 2 tight ends.
Well, I think for the same reason you said about Kmet, I think either Trubisky or Pickett is going to be targeting the tight end. And I think Freiermuth had a good first year in the league. He's proven himself to be a capable target in that offense.
Yeah, and if Kmet or Freiermuth have a run of games, you want to get on them when they're hot and you want to bring them in, you know what I mean? And Pitts is going to have a bye week anyway, so I'm going to need to have a tight end, and I fancy putting Kmet in them, whatever I can find on the waiver wire at the end, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Where do we go now? Oi. This is where it starts to get interesting, isn't it? You are looking for sort of seconds. I think I'm going to go for...
I would not like to have your wide receivers.
Why not? They're good. Ramandro Stevenson.
You went another
What, Debo? Yeah.
You love running backs, you do.
You need to stack up on them. They all get themselves hurt. You have to have a decent pool of good ones.
Yeah, I mean, that is true. You do have to have a good pool of them to pick from because they're all going to get injured a lot.
You don't want the
I'm going to go for a guy who will be, if Austin Eckler gets injured, Isaiah Spiller will be what Alexander Mattison is to Cook. He might only play 1 or 2 games all season, but he'll get 20 touches.
Yeah, I agree. I just think with running backs, you just don't want to be in a position where you're stuck with, God knows, like some absolute shocker that's going to score you 3 points because they can barely get forward a yard. They can't even fall over right. Like,
yeah, I mean, this is quite a deep league. Normally, there's only 12 picks, whereas this is set 16 picks. So I obviously haven't changed. I'm still doing it from best ball board, Bone. Sorry, my fault.
No, that's all right.
So I'm gonna have to maybe pick my quarterback now because a lot of teams are going to be taking 2, and we're already seeing teams taking 2, and that's because it's like 16 picks. So I'm taking Kirk Cousins.
You got your guy at least.
I think he was great last year.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just it's a tricky one with Kirk Cousins. I'm just not sold on Minnesota, but I am a Lions fan, so I'm not going to be sold on him. He's just a bit of an odd one. I can't tell if he can actually do it or not. I just think he's made it so close, but he just can't finish it. He can't get through but then it's fantasy, so the the postseason doesn't matter. Like can he win in the championship doesn't matter because the fantasy season's over by that point. I'm
going to take 2 picks off the bottom, Bones.
Yeah.
If I can do that. Yeah, right. So we've basically got as it would be. So you've took Fields.
I've taken Fields.
So now up the kickers and defenders. This is normally how it would be. So you took the last quarterback and you got Justin Fields.
Which, I mean, you wait that long in the draft and you still get a Justin Fields.
Yeah,
you're not.
And this is where I would be taking quarterbacks in this round 12. You know what I mean, though? There's an example for you. We've waited all the way till other people are going to be taking kickers and defenses, and I still got Kirk Cousins, and you still got a dual threat running back in Justin Fields. Delighted. You know what I mean?
I'm going to take Justin Tucker as my kicker.
Yeah. And I like to take a kicker before I take a defense, so I'm going to take Daniel Carson if he's still there, which I'm sure he will be.
He is, yeah. Yeah, I undisputed best kicker in the league. Like, I couldn't ignore Justin Tucker as the first person to take a kicker.
See, and now my last pick's going to be my defense. And to be honest with you, Bones, I stream defense, so I'm not really bothered which one I pick here. Although, I'm just going to take whichever one's highest because sometimes I'm just quite happy going off the waiver wire and streaming in a defense every single week.
Just seeing whose matchup you like the most and taking that.
Yeah, see which matchup I like most out of the waiver wires.
Yeah. I'm going to take... the Steelers defense. They're a good defense. Hard to not... like you say, can rotate them.
That's the end of our PPR one. So we went through best ball and we went through PPR. I'm just going to have a look at my PPR team. I'm delighted with that team. I've got Kirk Cousins at quarterback. I've got Najee Harris, Josh Jacobs, Devante Adams, Tabby Mclaren, Kyle Pitts, Brandon Cooks, Daniel Carson, and the Baltimore Ravens. That's my starting lineup. The key players on the bench are Miles Sanders. I've got DeAndre Hopkins. I've also got Rashard Penny, Cole Kmet, and Isaiah Spiller. Yeah.
You've done well. I wouldn't be annoyed at that at all. I mean, as much as you say you wouldn't be happy with my wide receivers, I'm not mad at them. Like, I've got San Francisco's number 1. I've got Kansas City's number 1.
Even though Travis Kelce's their number 1.
Travis Kelce's a 31-year-old tight end. He's not getting the same amount of catches he got last year. It's just not happening. No, he's getting less. He's not. More. No way. Not a chance. Juju's gonna have a lease of life in Kansas City. It's not gonna be the Juju we saw in Pittsburgh last year. This is gonna be former, like, quite good player Juju.
Well,
Like,
look,
top
we'll
10
go-
wide receiver Juju, this is going to be. Like, I'm calling it now. I believe in him. And I mean,
don't know
I
if-
like Amon-Ra St. Brown. He was one of our most rookie of the week last year. He's going to be great.
They've just got DJ Shark. You know what I mean, though? And they've got Reynolds, who came in at the back end last year. It's like you don't think he's going to be a flash in the pan.
I think he's on for it this year.
Receiver.
I don't think, as much as it looks like I don't think he's going to be. I just don't think that's going to be the case because he's not going to be playing outside like Josh Reynolds and DJ Chark are. He's going to be playing somewhere closer to the line, and I just believe in him. I just do. He was a great wide receiver for what he is, like where you get him at.
I honestly don't think that my running back bench. So we both took 5 running backs, which is standard. You normally take 5 running backs. You normally take 5 wide receivers. You've actually took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 running backs. I've took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 running backs. So you've got Taylor, Jones, Etienne, Patterson, and Stevenson. I've got Najee Harris, Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders, Rashard Penny, and Isaiah Spiller. I don't think there's much difference there. I mean, obviously Taylor's going to get more points, but I genuinely think is he going to get? Is he
Jones and Etienne are more guaranteed points than Jacobs and Sanders all day.
Etienne's coming back off an injury, and how often? I mean, yeah, he's in a situation where he's going to catch a lot of balls. I think from Trevor Lawrence. But, I mean, realistically, he's not going to... How often are the Jags going to be able to run the ball? And we all know that Doug Pederson likes a pass-first offense as well. But I don't think he is going to see a lot of catches. I just think that... I think Rashard Penny's in a run-first offense. I think
you can't trust Seattle running backs, though. They're like San Francisco for churning through them like foot. Like, just... Oh! You can't trust a Seattle running back. No way.
Yeah, he's top of their depth chart and they extended him for a year. So says that they got some faith in him.
I guess.
I just love the fact that I got Adams, McLaurin, Cooks, and Hopkins, DeAndre Hopkins when he's back from a 6-game suspension.
I mean, PPR, Taylor's scoring me 20 points a game. Easy.
I think Najee Harris is getting me 20 points a game though. Who's watching? Who's watching in the comments? Who's in the comments? Is anybody watching us at this stage?
There's a reason Jonathan Taylor is RB1 and Najee is 4 or 5. Like, he's just... The drop-off is bigger than you think between running backs. I know sometimes it doesn't seem like it, but it really is, like, especially in PPR.
So this is just... You just love your running backs and I just like the receivers.
You're looking at like a 4 or 5 point drop off from Taylor just to Cook and Henry sometimes. Well, not Henry. Henry has those games where he's just unbelievable. But I like to load up on running backs, and this is what I thought would make us doing some mock drafts together interesting.
Okay. Is Adams going to get more points than Jones? Yes. Is McLaurin going to get more points than Etienne? Certainly. And then you're up to is Juju Smith-Schuster going to get more points than Brandon Cooks? No.
I think he is in his new system. I think in his new system he is. Because he's not got Davis Mills throwing him the ball. He's got Patrick Mahomes throwing him the ball.
Yeah, but let's not also remember that Brandon Cooks got 1,000 yards last year as well with Davis Mills throwing the ball. And Tyrod Taylor as well.
Aaron Jones is outscoring McLaurin all day.
Yeah, but you took him second.
Sorry, Devontae Adams. He's probably outscoring Devontae Adams all day as well.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is, because he's not getting his reps gobbled up by Darren Waller. He's not getting his reps gobbled up by Hunter Renfrow. He's getting more reps.
Devontae Adams is still getting lots of balls. He's still getting at least 10 to 11 targets. He's probably getting... We'll see how much... Did you watch the first Raiders game last year against the Ravens where Darren Waller got about 20 odd targets? Yeah. Derek Carr will key into his favourite player and lob the ball at him 20 or 30 times. He's not bothered. There's
only a few bell cow backs in the league, and Jones is still one of them. He is still one of those backs that is going to get the majority of the snaps there.
The fact that AJ Dillon's going to probably come in and take 50% of his carries.
He's not taking 50%. No way, no how. Not a chance. Jones is going to be even more featured in that offense this year than he was last year, just because of his pass catching ability out of the backfield. He's going to score points in PPR, especially.
Well, there you go, viewers. Whoever is watching, leave a comment in. Which team do you think was the best in best ball? Which team do you think is the best in PPR? You're wrong if you don't have me in both formats, but we'll leave it up to you. And me and Bones, we will sign off. We'll say hasta la vista. We'll say goodbye today. This was fun. It's nice to be podcasting again.
Yeah, definitely.
And this was best ball and PPR format.
We'll do some more mocks next week. You up for another couple of this time next week?
Maybe we'll not do a mock, but maybe what we'll do is we'll do a deep sleeper pod.
Okay, yeah.
We'll talk about a few players who might have fantasy football upside. We'll talk about a few players that we're down on. I've already said that I'm down on Dalvin Cook and Derek Henry.
You just don't like my running backs. That's what it is. You've seen my dynasty running backs and been like, I don't like that guy, I don't like that guy, I don't like that guy.
I don't generally like running backs in their second contract who have already had an injury.
I mean, that's fair. That is fair.
But we'll talk about
I'll make an exception for Henry, though. But yes, we'll talk about that next week in a bit more detail. Otherwise, thank you for those who did tune in. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you again, Mark, and doing some football stuff. And I'll cut the stream there. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Subscribe, like.